Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some
Hey,
fun.
well, Nick Collier here, and we've got another project. This one's going to be a little bit of an extended project. I bought this lathe, about a year ago, and got it back, and I was all excited about it because this lathe is the first lathe I own. Not this particular one, but this exact brand and size and everything. Back when I was 18, I bought a lathe for, I think, $600, if I remember correctly. And I got this one for $600, which was a score and a half. And it works pretty good. It's, it's needed a few things here and there. And over the last year, I've kind of fixed this and fixed that and kind of tuned it in so that it works fairly well now. But the problem is that I landed it on the building itself. And this thing vibrates the entire building, which is two problems. One is the building acts like a drum, and anything outside, you can hear the entire building kind of humming because this thing is running. One thing, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is about what time it is right now, then, my wife's bugged by the noise. Hey, and I get it. So what I want to do is take it off of the building and land it on a concrete slab like I did the other lathe. Because then, and the other thing that it creates is if I try to hang a camera from the building at any place, the thing vibrates so much that the camera just absolutely won't work. So what I want to do is take it off of the building, get rid of this piece here, maybe move it back or do something, drop it down to the floor, something, and then take the lathe off. And the lathe sits on a 1/2-inch piece of steel, and use that piece of steel as my base and build some legs for it and land the legs on the piece of concrete. Sounds simple, right? Oh, yeah. So let's go over and see what the legs might look like, and I'll be right back. So I'm over at my steel suppliers, a couple of months back, and I'm buying some metal from him, and he has this, and he's also a fab shop, except he builds bridges and superstructures for high-rise buildings and stuff like that. So his main focus is this heavy-duty steel, and when I go in to buy stuff from him, I'm buying 1-inch tubing and 1-inch angle iron and that sort of thing. I always feel a little less than because he deals with this kind of stuff. So anyhow, he's got a scrap bin. And every time I go there, I have to look in his scrap bin because sometimes there's some pretty cool stuff in there. And sure enough, this piece was sitting in there. Well, actually about a dozen of them. And he had made some kind of circular thing out of this. What is this? 3/4 angle? Might be 1/2-inch angle. Let's see what we got. 1/2-inch. He made some kind of circular thing, and this was the scrap cutoff. And there was like a dozen of these things laying in the bottom of his box. Actually, probably about 20 of them. But all I could get to, because there was a bunch of other heavy stuff on top of many of them, I just didn't feel like digging down into a greasy pit. But I grabbed a dozen of these. And at the time, I had no idea what I was going to do with them. And I did a couple of playful things with them. And then the other day I'm thinking, I really need some legs for this lathe. And how am I going to come up with that? And, I love this curve. So basically we're going to use these as legs and create the curve well, the curve's already there, and create the legs and attach these legs to that half-inch piece of plate and land it on the concrete. Let me show you where we've gotten to so far. We're going to throw these in the saw and cut them off right here. And well, let's just cut. What do we got? Okay, you can see it. Looks good. We're going to bring you over to this side. And let's cut away. All right, so here's our two legs, or two sets of legs, and we need to be 12 inches at the top here, and that's right at 12 inches, and the same thing with this one. Pretty close. There we go. So that's a good start. Now I'm just going to leave them lay here, and oh yeah, I could show you this other part. Well, I guess we could cut out this other part. I'm going to take the scrap of those cuts and go ahead and put myself a base on this, just about like that. And then we can just weld it in and put a hole through here with an adjuster. So for the moment, let's just get the chalk out and cut our line. We can cut those. All right, well, it's just easier to cut it out with the pattern torch. So we're going to do that. All right, well, we've cleaned it out below the lathe there, and we've leveled it out, and we got a little bit of gravel in, but not quite enough yet. And we're going to pour a pad that's just about exactly the size of the lathe, and push the lathe back a little bit closer to the wall, and then land this thing on the ground. And of course build our legs, which are laying on the floor over there. But I think the first thing to do is come back to here. The first thing to do is get this in, get the concrete poured, and get that stuff, you know, drying out, because it's going to take a week or two to be dry enough to, well, you know, I could probably do it in a week, but give it an extra week. So right now we're going to just bring some gravel in and dump some gravel and get this thing kind of leveled out and ready to rip. In the wheelbarrow. All right, that's definitely more than 4 inches. So we're gonna get that last bag of gravel. Well, I thought 3 bags were going to be plenty. Turns out that five bags probably would have done it. You can never tell. So, this is what we've got. And the reason why I built the little trough up against this board here, because I have a board underneath here, is because there's a gap from there down, and I wanted the concrete to come up against the board and sit there. So, and you know, I'm just going to leave the board in place, and eventually the board will rot, and if there's concrete there, it'll kind of hold it, and if there's not, the gravel will just run out and this whole thing will drop down. So I think might be best, rather than have 6 or so inches down here and 4 inches up there, we'll just level it all out so we got 5 inches everywhere. And that gives us a little bit more beef, not that we need it. Yeah, that all looks pretty good. So now we just start mixing up batches of concrete and start pouring. I'll be back. Alright, well this first batch is going to be a bit dry because I'm going to slide it in to those places along the perimeter. So, let's get started. All right, that was pretty good. Now we're going to come in and chop it in. Get all the little air bubbles out. And get it to relax right up against the board. Okay, we might actually be down to the last batch here. So far I put in 14 or 16 bags of concrete. Close. I'd say one more bag. All right, well, we got it in. We come back after lunch for, in about an hour, and the surface will be a little drier. We'll be able to work it a little bit more, and we will be back. Okay, it's 24 hours later, and the concrete is beginning to set up. It's not the best concrete pour in the world, but it's not the worst either, and it's functional. So I'm happy with the fact that it's reasonably level, and it's going to hold the lathe very well. So that, while this thing sets up for the next week or so, we're going to transfer over to the legs.